Hey guys, Savage Warrior here, bringing you an important topic after we've spent that precious time and energy to bring ourselves around that destination, the final moment when accuracy and timing is the most critical in the game, the shock. There are several topics to discuss regarding shocks, but let's discuss a few points worth mentioning right now. You always want to spot out shock launchers before your attack, but shock blasters are still the huge threat. Even after the most recent update, Supercell had said that the damage output was decreased, but most of us know that the damage is not really as deadly as the shock. A level 3 shock blaster shocks for 1 second and my warriors boosted can do more than 1000 damage per second. So if a boat of warriors are exposed to the rapid fire of the shock blaster, it has a crippling effect to the outcome of an attack. And you know, for me, flamethrowers are still pretty scary too. These bad boys fully upgraded will melt the faces off your warriors, dealing 363 damage per second in addition to the residual burn damage that lasts for 5 seconds. Although residual burn damage doesn't stack, it can be compounded if there are multiple flamethrowers. And for those of you who remember, the previous update had increased it so that it's absolutely something you want to pay attention to. Another point I wanted to make in this video is that I've never really seen anyone talk about dealing with shock launchers or shock blasters right behind the HQ. I've seen a few replays and people taking them out with warriors before hitting the HQ, but in the presence of the shield generator, I think this option has really been taken away. For me, I would rather shock some of my own troops than allow a third of my warriors getting shocked. Maybe this is a long-held secret in the game, but I think this is really a basic skill native to good warrior players. The introduction of critters deserves its own video actually, because these go hand in hand with your shocks. Many of you have noticed and asked me directly, why do you shock your critters? And honestly, in some situations and base layouts, it doesn't always merit using this tactic. But I've found that in many situations, especially on player bases, this can be quite effective. Critters are mostly used to attract shock launchers, shock blasters, and rocket launchers. Throwing them in an area where you need to shock anyway will shock the defensive structures that would otherwise destroy them, while attracting the fire from structures outside the shock area. This can prolong the health of the critters, and most importantly, give your warriors enough time to destroy the HQ before the critters die. Again, shocking the defensive structures that would otherwise destroy them gives you an advantage. Okay, this last part of this video is definitely a more advanced topic and relevant to pure Zookas. In fact, this probably merits its own video and can be broken down into 3 subjects: shock placement, timing, and critters used in place of shocks. The most important point of shocks in operation attacks is shock placement, or knowing the range of how many defensive structures you can get with a single shock. There is a risk and reward decision here you have to make, because the more risk you take, likely the more defensive structures you can get with the least amount of shocks. But this definitely demands a high level of precision and accuracy, and there is no room for error here. In high-level operations, it commonly requires 4 to 5 shocks, and for the most part, this means that timing is the next critical skill that merits discussion. Especially with the new operation bases such as Cooker and Fang, which require 4 to 5 shocks, you will have less than 10 seconds to do the maximum damage, meaning that the closer you can get all the shocks off at the same time, the more damage you can do. This is the single reason why troop damage is considered the holy grail in task force operations. But let's say, for example, you were to get all the 4 shocks off at the very last moment when the smoke disappears. Still, without that pinpoint accuracy and perfect shock placement, you still won't finish the job. This is where you have to manage your own skill, practice, expectations from your task force officers and leaders, and the amount of power powder you use on a daily basis. Finally, after you've become comfortable with shock placement and timing, adding critters to your plan of attack will elevate you to the next level. In fact, critters can be used in place of shocks to maximize your gunboat energy. However, the timing and where to throw them is worthy of its own video. Why? Because shocks travel faster than critters travel in the air. And this becomes much more noticeable in operation bases the further your target is. In other words, you can throw critters first and still land a shock before the critters even hit the ground. This means that even though you shocked around the critters, they are active and can effectively take out targets. Another tactic noteworthy here is that smoking critters can also be effective. This is when you throw critters under smoke, so when the smoke clears, defensive structures will target them first, giving you a few more seconds. Since the additional smoke plus the critters can be costly, you will need to be competent in double or triple smoking. This of course is yet another interesting Zooka topic, and we can discuss this in another video. Anyway, we've covered a lot of information in this video, and in the future I hope to break it down and to go more into details, because shocks are one of the most vital gunboat abilities in this game, and certainly part of what makes Boom Beach so unique. Anyway guys, there's so much more to this game that I still need to learn and share with you guys in the future, and I hope you've been really enjoying the videos that I've made in the past, and really appreciate all of you subscribing and having the patience when I get busy with my life and can't put it out every day. But anyway, thank you so much, and I really appreciate you subscribing and sharing with others. Until next time, Savage Warrior out.